Hey everybody, Mysh here. How's your holiday season? I spent most of mine playing a lot of bad video games. The one I want to talk to you today about is Cythera.
Welcome to MyshPlays Video Games and Stuff. I hope you hate it.
Before we get into the game itself, I want to explain why I'm talking about it. See, Cythera isn't just any bad game. It's just one I used to play as a kid, and I thought it'd be fun to share with you. When I was a kid, I didn't have any video game consoles. I didn't have any of the popular PC games either, because we were a Mac family. I was pretty confined when it came to gaming because there were so few available to Mac users. For this reason, Ambrosia Software was a godsend. For just shy of 2 decades, Ambrosia Software has been making quality indie Mac games. They're pretty under the radar, but perhaps you've heard of EV Nova. Or maybe a Pyron. A Pyron? A Pyrian? I never knew how to pronounce that. All their games are shareware, so me and my older brothers would play all the demos and see which ones we liked best, and then they would do the dirty work of talking my parents into buying them. And so I grew up playing a lot of the undiscovered masterpieces of Mac gaming. See, when Ambrosia stepped out of making Centipede and Space Invaders knockoffs, and made something really unique, the games are always amazing. 2 such games are Farazol's Wand and Pillars of Garendel, which remain a couple of my all-time favorite games to this day, which is why it's exciting that I've got a chance to play them again. Most of Ambrosia's best games are only compatible with Mac OS 9 or earlier. Very few got ported to Mac OS X, so it's been difficult for me to find a chance to play them, let alone let's play them for you guys. But recently I've set up an emulator on my computer for pre-Mac OS X operating systems called SheepShaver. With SheepShaver, I've been able to install all these old games which I've held on to and have been playing them over the holidays. Playing these games within an emulator also means I can screen capture it, so you should be seeing Let's Plays of Farazol's Wand and Pillars of Garendel very soon, which I am super excited about. But as for now, let's explore Cythera, for which I've already put together a video for you guys. So this is Cythera. It's an adventure RPG. The story is that you are summoned from our modern world back to the mythical land of Cythera by Alaric the Land King. As Land King, he has a sort of spiritual bond with the land, but he's getting sick or something. It's a sign of the peace of the land deteriorating. So your job is to go fix all the problems they're having. Go get him. So here I am creating a character. I'll call him Morsh the Wrathful. Get it? 'Cause like, Mysh mad, Morsh the Wrathful, get it? And then there's some character archetypes to pick from, dealing with combat, like whether you want to be better at magic, or sword fighting. The funny thing about this game, though, is that you actually don't need to use combat to do stuff. Your progress in this game is all about the story, and the story can be progressed almost completely just by talking to people. The story is full of cool stuff like kidnappings and murders and conspiracy going on between the different political houses which rule Cythera. By exploring the world, gathering items, and learning magic in order to investigate the world better, you uncover clues to understanding the land of Cythera, its mythology and history, as well as its current troubles. So as you can see, Cythera is a visual game. You move about the world and manipulate items within space, though it's also very reliant on text. Cythera is a cool sort of step between graphic RPGs and the older text-based adventures from early PC gaming. When speaking to people, you have to type in certain keywords to get them to give you new information. Something you learn about the story from one person may lead you back to an earlier part of the game to ask an NPC about it, triggering a new story path. You feel really clever and accomplished when you make connections and ask the right questions and get ahead in the story. Some of the things you can say don't pertain to the story at all, but can get you handy skills or side quests, or just funny little quips. Some things you ask just don't do what you expect them to, or nothing at all. So this is Pinks, the Magisterium, or Pnix, Nix. I don't know, I got some weird names in this game. You can learn magic here. Let's see what these students have to say. What's your name? Prostate cancer? Okay, what's your job? I'm a student, hoping to study healing. Well, you could teach me all about healing, can't you? I don't know about that. You don't know about healing? Oh, okay. Okay, bye. The inventory system is pretty unconventional, too. The game uses a sort of smart window mechanic to manage drawers, chests, crates, bags, maps, books, pretty much anything you interact with in the world. And you can shift around and resize the windows just like you would folders on your desktop. Equipping stuff is just as easy. You just drag your items into the right slots. And what RPG would be complete without allies to help you along the way?
You came to the wrong neighborhood, buddy.
Meet Hector, the lovable meathead. You find him bumming around the Land King's castle, and convince him to join you since he's not really doing anything better. I'd be pretty happy if someone rescued me from that place too. Despite being home and the place to go when you need food, rest, or healing, Land King Hall gets to be the most boring place in all of Cythera later in the game. Hector's good with a sword and shield, so he can fight most of your battles for you. Check out how he takes on this whole mob of ruffians while I kinda just chib around in the background. This is what I mean about not having to use combat to get ahead in the game. In the very few areas that you do have to fight to get through, you can just have Hector do all the dirty work. Other than that, he's not good for much. He has a big inventory though, so you can have him carry all your stuff. Next, meet Timon. I'm pretty sure his name is Timon, but at one point I mispronounced it Timon, and from then on I could never imagine anything else but the little meerkat from Lion King. Maybe I'll name my next character Pumbaa. Anyway, you meet him bumming around some abandoned ruins in Cythera. He says he's a mage, studying an ancient race called the Seldane.
The Seldane are these spooky bluish smurf people that live underground,
which actually become kind of important in the endgame. But in the meantime, Timon's not doing any good hanging out in these ruins, so you talk him into following you too. Honestly, he's far more useful more often than Hector. He knows magic, so you can have him heal you or other allies in your party, or scare away enemies you don't want to deal with. Next, meet Meliger. He's a beggar you meet while exploring the lands of Cythera. He explains that in his younger days he was a bodyguard, and even though he's old, he's still pretty physically able. So if you pay him just a little bit, he'll follow you. Typical of a beggar, right? I like to let him carry all my money. I like the irony of it. Finally, meet Aethon. He's a scruffy, rogue-looking type of guy who you meet in the ghetto of one of the bigger cities in Cythera. Before joining you, he says he was a rat catcher, which means he spent most of his time in the sewers hunting rats. Kind of a shady character, but he's actually one of the most useful. If you ask him nicely, he'll teach you to use range attacks, which I was really happy about. Ranged character classes have always been my favorite in RPGs.
Also, the developers coded in this hilarious relationship he has with Meliger.
If you ask one of them about the other, you find funny little dialogue strings of them complaining about each other.
Aethon and Meliger? I'd ship it.
So anyway, yeah, you get a bunch of bums and losers to follow you around. It sounds a lot like Jesus assembling the disciples. You just walk around like, hey, follow me. And they're like, okay. So even though you really don't have to use combat in this game, it's really just too fun not to. There's a lot of different fighting styles you can learn. Like to use a sword and shield like Hector, or a bare hand like Meliger, or ranged like Aethon. If you train in magic, you can become especially powerful. And so the game doesn't get boring for those who want to get into combat. There's some dungeons here and there across Cythera, full of sea monsters, or the undead, or ruffians, at the end of which is usually some powerful weapon, or magic spell. When it comes to having your allies help you in combat, it's actually surprisingly easy. You don't have to micromanage their attacks like you do in some RPGs. You basically just equip them with whatever weapons they like, and give them some basic strategy, like attack strongest, attack weakest, attack nearest. Berserk? Berserk? You mean berserk? Spelled it wrong, buddy. Or you can have them target enemies in specific, and they'll do the rest. I'm not sure what else needs mentioning. I mean, the sounds and music in this game aren't that great. If the music was any good, I'd probably be using it in this video. I mean, just listen to this. Sounds like a 13-year-old got his hands on a Casio keyboard. Nah, but it's not that bad. It's quirky and weird, just like the rest of the game.
Just check out the goofy art in these NPCs. What the hell's going on there?
I guess it's hard to explain why I like this game. It's pretty bad, but it has that good sense of adventure that you want in an RPG. There's a lot of mystery and suspense in the plot. Combat is pretty nerve-wracking, because characters can die easier than you think, and there's no resurrections in this. And every time I play through this game, I find new secrets and puzzles. There's so many little dialogue strings, and hidden items, and special skills you can learn, that you never quite feel like you've seen everything in the game. I mean, there's even a secret within the tutorial level, which I didn't even find until like the 15th time I've played this game. Anyway, I don't expect any of you to have played this game before, and unfortunately you probably won't have a chance again. But as I've said before on MyshPlays, I just like sharing games I've enjoyed in the past. So that's all of Cythera. I'll go back to doing pretty traditional Let's Plays now, but let me know what you think of this game below in the comments. Like and subscribe if you feel like it, and be sure to stay tuned for more MyshPlays video games and stuff. Darn it.